Inside Disc Golf.
Today on Inside Disc Golf, we have a very special guest. We have the 2020 15 and under Finnish junior national champion, Elias Luukkonen. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's very wise and mature beyond his years. He also won the 2022 Heatland Open and the Belgian Open on the Euro Tour. He's cashed at every single European Pro Tour event, and he cashed at the European Open as well. And he's also a really great commentator. I had the privilege of doing the Belgian Open, his first time in the booth, and I was super impressed. Make sure you check that out on MDG Media. He's also got a documentary out about him from MDG Media called Get to Know Elias Luukkonen, and that's something you really should watch as well. He's a really amazing disc golfer and a really wonderful person, and we're really very pleased to have him here on Inside Disc Golf Podcast.
Inside Disc Golf.
Hello and welcome to Inside Disc Golf. I'm Andrew Gum.
And I'm Victor Tågestad, and right in between us, we have a very special guest today. Who are you?
Thanks for inviting me. First of all, I'm Elias. I'm a Finnish disc golfer. You guys maybe knew that already. And nice to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Elias Luukkonen from Espoo, right outside Helsinki here in Finland. Where do we want to start today? It's very nice to have you here. We have been able to follow you a little bit this year, maybe not as much as we maybe hoped on the European Pro Tour, but you have had quite a bit of success this year, also last year. Can you tell us where your journey started when it comes to disc golf?
Yeah, well, first of all, you said that you maybe haven't seen me on the European Pro Tour as much as you would like. That makes a lot of sense because I've been playing pretty bad on the European Pro Tour this year. But yeah, the journey, I started playing disc golf way back in 2016. That feels like a really long time to me. We had this school field trip to the disc golf course, and me and a couple of my friends were like, wow, this is a pretty fun sport. Maybe we should do this more often. And then that's kind of where the spark kind of got born. And after that, it's just gotten more serious and more serious in a way. I still have the fun kind of spirits in my mind as far as disc golf. But each year I feel like I've gotten better, and I think I'm enjoying the sport more than ever.
Okay, so 2016 you said, right?
Yeah.
So you were 11 years old? Is that right?
I was 11 back then.
Right, so because you're 17 now, right?
Yeah, now I'm 17. I'm about to turn 18 in like 4 months.
Okay. Yeah, that's really, really incredible that you're able to perform so well in the open division at that age. Do you play juniors at all anymore? No?
Not at all. I don't think I'm allowed to. In like regular tournaments, if you want to play in the junior division, you have to have the amateur status.
Right.
Obviously, in the junior nationals, the junior Finnish nationals, I still could play in the junior division. But this year, they actually had a great competition there. I almost wish I went there because there was some great players there. I don't think I would have had a pretty small chance to even win the tournament because the level was so high. But I had another tournament. I had the Turku Open.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same weekend of the European Pro Tours. Final stop there in Turku, where Seppo Paju took down the hometown victory.
Yeah.
That was pretty exciting.
That was nice.
On Annikainen disc golf course,
Yeah.
That's a beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that tournament. Last year that was one of my best tournaments for sure. Because
I remember you were on the lead card there for the second round, right? Yeah, actually, 16 years old. That's quite remarkable.
That was a great memory because I just played like possibly the best front nine I've ever played on any course. I shot 8 under on the Annikainen course. That was incredible. And then I just shot 9 under on the round. I had a kind of a bad back nine, but then I got to the lead card that was filmed, and I was like shaking. The weather was bad. It was raining. It was cold. I had this like 11-year-old dude on the bag. He was like twice as small as me. It was crazy. I played terrible, but that was a great experience.
And that was your first time on video coverage?
I think it was the second time.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the second time.
Yeah, a lot of nerves and stuff. But you've come a long way with that, right? Now you're feeling quite comfortable with the media presence and everything. You've been able to take down 2 really high level wins on the Euro Tour.
Yeah.
With MDG Media covering those events.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's wonderful to play on camera. I almost feel like if the round is filmed, I get like more excited for the round, and therefore I focus more. Especially, for example, with the MDG Media, I feel like they have such a like casual style of filming, because I'm also friends with the guys, and if I maybe throw a bad shot and I'm like, oh, what have I done? And then I look at one of the cameramen, and they're just like smiling at me and saying like, it's okay, It feels great.
It's almost like being out throwing with your friends and just having a nice time.
It is,
like,
yeah. Even like on a big tournament, I've had a couple of big tournaments this year where I was filmed by MDG Media, as you mentioned, and it didn't feel like that much of a big pressure tournament at all, because the guys are so chill and casual, and gotta love MDG Media.
Yeah, they're really, really great people. We just met for the first time there in Belgian Open in the Tange home. They were so graciously welcomed us all, and the hospitality was incredible. I mean, you really got to come check out disc golf in Belgium. But yeah, it was really. I was super impressed with your presence and your maturity, and your I haven't really met. I think very many teenagers or any that I can think of that had that level of kind of comfort and interest in fellow humans, and a very empathetic presence, and very it was like a really level of maturity that's something special. So it was really amazing to get to meet you there, and especially in that environment. I mean, we were all having a great time and everything, but yeah, it was really cool to meet you, because the first time I had heard of you was from Victor. He had talked early in the season that there's this young guy from Espoo that's really good, and he, Elias Luukkonen. And I hadn't heard of you before, so I was like, oh yeah, okay, another great young Finn. There's
quite a few
there's
of them.
hundreds of them.
Yeah, that's so many.
I didn't take too much notice. I just thought, okay, this is some guy that Victor's into because he's in the same club as you or something. And I was like, yeah. But then you kind of you kept mentioning him.
Yeah.
And then I started hearing from other people about you as well, from mostly like a lot of from the MDG guys and some other people that are really into the sport that are saying that, this is something special about this guy, not just a really good player, but also a really calm, kind presence, and just a really, really great person for the sport and for the world.
Oh yeah.
So
Thank you. That's a huge compliment from you. And also, well, I'm not sure who have you, well, you mentioned that he has told you the same thing, but I don't know about the other people that have told you that, but I guess it's a great thing to hear that people talk about me like that, even when I'm not around.
Yeah, you have a great reputation. I guess Victor hadn't met you personally, but he was just saying that he was interested in you as a player as far as your skills go and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was aware of who you were. Like the first time I saw you play was probably there at the Turku last year when you played on that lead card. But I noticed quite clear when we had the indoor training in our club last winter. Every time you stepped in there, you came usually a little bit later than I came there, and suddenly the level of professionalism you brought with you, when you were like, you could notice that you were there to become a better disc golfer. Yeah. You were not there to just have a fun like everyone else, mostly everyone else. And then that also gave a reaction to everyone who were there already. Suddenly people started to putt better. Suddenly the kids shut up. They were not running around screaming anymore. They were looking up to someone who like they wanted to become. So that's you notice that, okay, this guy has something special that you don't see in that many young disc golfers. So I was really impressed, and I thought that we're going to see big things from this guy already this season, even though you're young, and you proved that was right. Yeah.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the indoor training, because I very much remember some things from the indoor training. I felt when I came to the area of the training, and started to maybe take some putts, from short distance or maybe even longer distance. I felt like maybe especially some of the juniors around, they would kind of like, as you said, they would get like more quiet, and they almost seemed like nervous to be around. And I was like, what's going on here? Like, why do these guys seem to change their behavior when I'm around? Like, are they like scared? Have I done something wrong? But then I figured that, yeah, maybe they're just, this kind of feels wrong to say this myself, but maybe they're just kind of looking up.
Definitely,
you know,
most definitely. Like, that's you are someone to look up to for kids in that age. And
yeah, I hope to be.
Yeah.
That's my goal. You know, as I've maybe said before in a couple of interviews, not that I've done many interviews in my career, you know, I would like to have more of a positive influence on the game of disc golf. That's definitely one of the main goals I have.
Well, I think you're off to an incredible start with that. I mean, you know, definitely have a reputation for being a really nice person and a great player. So really a perfect role model for the up and coming youngsters. And you're still so young yourself that the potential is I mean, it's incredibly high. There's so many things that you can potentially achieve in your career.
Inside Disc Golf.
Do you have any long-term goals for what you want to achieve in the sport, other than to like positively influence it in an overall meaningful way?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I actually thought about this just a few days ago. You know, after my season just finished, I thought about like, what do I want to do after this season? Because, you know, I'm still in school. I have to attend school. I'm on the second grade of high school right now, so I still have at least 2 years of school left. And when I thought about like, what do I want to do with disc golf? Well, the obvious thing is I wanna become a professional so that I can live just off of playing disc golf. That's the most obvious one. Obviously, the improvement in playing that's a huge part. But I feel like that doesn't require as much effort, because I really enjoy practicing, and I am going to practice no matter what. So I think the improvement is going to happen naturally. But what I really have to focus on is, well, what we're doing right here. Partly is to improve my social media status.
Yeah, the brand.
Exactly.
That's a big part of the sport nowadays as well, isn't it? To become or to draw a certain level of interest from the fans, and to be able to have a following, right, on social media and in general on the coverage, right?
Also a big part of what we're trying to do here on this podcast, and also the European Pro Tour and Disc Golf Stream, to give you players a platform to actually communicate to all the viewers and all those who are interested to follow you. Of course, one can do it by creating an Instagram account or a YouTube channel or something, but also to have a place where we really follow, and especially the European players.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity, because especially for a player as myself, I don't have the biggest presence on social media. You know, I don't have a YouTube channel yet. I think I'm going to create that at some point. You know, well, I don't do Facebook. I do Instagram and TikTok, kind of. You know, I have a...
Is it Facebook for old people? That's what I usually hear from teenagers.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's like politically correct to say, but I very much agree. But the thing with old people have money, and if you want to be a professional in any sport or any industry, you need money. And I think that's why that sounds kind of cheeky, I guess, almost.
I don't think so.
But you know, because if we reach the audience that has money, well, obviously, you know, the old people of Facebook. You know, obviously, I'm sorry to all the people that feel young that still use Facebook. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. But you know, if I can reach the older audience on Facebook, maybe their kids are really into me, and if I can reach the kids and the parents, you know, that hopefully both play disc golf, that would be the ideal situation, because then the kid goes to their parent and is like, "Hey, look at this guy. This is my idol. It's Elias. He has this signature disc. Can I get it?" And then the parent is like, "Well, yeah, I know the guy. He seems like a good guy." You know, that's the ideal situation.
Sounds about right.
You have some
You're very smart.
very smart strategies there on how to succeed, and I'm very happy to hear that. You can see it's not all about kids, even if that is of course a big part of the sport, and especially here in Finland where there are so many young players out on the courses, but also many older ones. And just like we were talking about before, it wasn't just the kids that were quieting down and started to putt better suddenly when you entered that indoor training. It was also those 60 plus old men who showed some other skills then suddenly. So.
Yeah,
it's working for you.
Like the old people, they don't just have money, but they also have some wisdom from life experience.
Yeah.
And that's something I noticed that you were very interested in. You were very inquisitive. You were like when we were hanging out together in the Tange home there in Belgium. You were very open and conversing with everybody. You know, no matter who they were, you would come up and you were asking, you know, really important, meaningful questions to people. You were looking for some types of life advice, maybe in a way, and trying to understand people where they're coming from and what they've been through, and you seem very absorbent to all of these different sort of ideas and experiences that people have been through. I can think specifically of Martin Dorken, the really great Masters Pro 50 player, the German legend, the forehand legend. You know,
great guy.
Yeah, great guy, and I was there, and you were having really long conversation about what's really important and meaningful in life, you know, and so I think it's really cool that you're so open and interested in learning from others as well, not just your peers and cohorts, but also people who have been around in the game for longer or been in life, you know, a little bit longer and been through more things, right?
Exactly, because like, what can I learn from maybe an older guy? Because the older guy has experienced so much, as you said. You know, I really think of it as an opportunity to learn. Compared to, you know, I love talking to people my age because I feel like we have so much in common. Maybe, well, definitely more than with the older guys.
Of course.
But especially in Belgium, in the Tange home, you call the place.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that exactly right.
I think that's about right.
Yeah.
We will have to ask them. But you know, there was not another person my age there. I think the youngest guy maybe was like 19.
Hjalte or he's 20.
Or 20. I think Roni was 21 or something. So yeah, I think that's definitely the thing, is that you have to learn from people around you, and if you have people around you that obviously have more life experience, then I feel like that's just a better opportunity to learn.
Yeah, that's a great attitude, and I think that's very wise of you to be able to learn that at such a young age, to show that level of maturity and interest in everybody for what they can offer, you know, as far as meaning. You know.
Inside Disc Golf.
And speaking of that, what players or people do you look up to, and who has been inspiring you to reach the levels that you are on now? Do you
for disc golfers?
For disc golf or in life in general, but maybe especially for disc golf.
Yeah, I definitely have some disc golfers that I really have looked up to. You know, I think the first one that comes to mind has to be Simon Lizotte. Actually, there's a good story with Simon Lizotte, because he used to be like by far my favorite player when I started up back in 2016 and 2017. I was like, wow, this Simon guy, you know, he throws so far. He has this great spin, but you know, he seems to be just a great thrower and a great person as well. Obviously, I hadn't met them at that point, so I didn't know. But then in 2017, actually the last day of our summer vacation from school, or the second last day, I was just playing at my home course. I was just about to leave when another person from my club came up to me and was like, "Hey, Elias, I think you should stay here because Simon Lizotte is actually coming to the course.
Ooh.
And I was like, no way this is true. The guy, he tours in America. He's from Germany. Why would he be at my home course in Finland? But then that turned out to be true. We ended up playing around with Simon. I think there was like 5 of us. And that was great, meeting my idol for the first time. But then what was even crazier was the next day. Because after the round we played with Simon, I was like, yeah, this is such a dream come true, I couldn't ask for anything more. But then my club leader, Yrjö Munukka, big thanks to him, he's been a great influence on my career. He sent me a message and was like, we have this tour with Simon Lizotte called Simon Lizotte Fantasy Doubles Tour. And what's the deal with Fantasy Doubles Tour is that a random player from the area that they're touring in gets to play around with Simon Lizotte in a best shot doubles format. And then Yrjö asked me if I want to be Simon's partner. And that was like even crazier for the 12-year-old Elias back then. He was so crazy about Simon Lizotte. And then I got the chance to play with Simon himself. And the doubles, it went great, I had some great moments there. I really enjoyed my time. And then after that, it was the next day, I think school started. And I went to school, I was feeling so great about myself. I didn't tell anyone that I played with Simon in school. I just walked down the school hallway and was like, yeah, I'm the man. I play with Simon Lizotte, even though literally nobody would care there. But yeah, that was definitely a huge boost for my confidence early on in the career.
No, I can imagine that nowadays there are quite a few 12-year-olds here in Finland who know who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's impressive of you to keep it to yourself. I know I wouldn't have been able to do that at that age, at least. So.
Yeah, I did post on my Instagram back then, but obviously, my Instagram I was just playing on there. I didn't really have like more than maybe 100 followers or something, so nobody really knows about it nowadays.
That's an amazing story, though. What a cool thing to happen to you at such a young age, to get to meet your idol and then get to have such a close, intimate experience with him actually playing, more than once. Yeah.
Story actually continued this year because I think after the Fantasy Doubles event, we did some back and forth texting on Instagram with Simon. And one very specific thing that I told him was, okay, now we played a doubles together, but one day I'm going to compete on the same card as you. And well, what happened in the European Open last round, pretty much almost exactly 5 years after we met in the fantasy doubles, we played in the same card. And he still remembered the moment, when I went to the practice field to warm up and saw Simon for the first time, I was like, hey, Simon, finally on the same card. And then he was like, he said something along the lines, oh yeah, like you said this would happen or you made it or something like that, I was so honored that he still remembered it.
That's so cool.
Oh,
yeah. And what a moment. And
what a special kind of chain of events, and I guess that's maybe one of those stories that you were talking about, how there's these like coincidences that seem to be taking place in this world that are strange and almost eerie, but like so meant to be, it feels like, right?
Yeah, I think we talked a bit about this in Belgium, I think, because sometimes it just seems so odd when things just happen and lead to another thing and another thing leads to another. And then it like creates this kind of a circle where the first thing that happens seems to make so much sense, like with what happens after everything. Like, I just don't understand how is it possible.
But it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And not only that, you are also now sharing the same sponsor. You're under Discmania. And when did they pick up you? Or, like, when did they...
Discmania?
When did they try to get you the first time? How did that go?
That's being on Team Discmania was that was one of the early goals I had, because obviously Simon was my favorite player. Also loved Eagle McMahon as well. Those were like two of my top idols. And I was like, okay, I want to be on Team Discmania because I love their discs. You know, I love their players. I love their brand. So then after I won the Finnish Junior Nationals, then I'm still kind of proud of the application I sent them, because I wrote like a pretty long email with a lot of features about myself. That was really well written. You know, I told them why should they sponsor me, what are my goals and what are my achievements, and then I got a respond from Discmania, and they told me that they said I was the only player at that time from Finland that they would like to sponsor as far as the upcoming players. And that was just another like huge confidence boost for me. So yeah.
How long ago since what did you say that was? When did you sign with them?
I signed with Discmania at the end of 2020. So
end of 2020, okay. So it's
2 years ago.
Still kind of new in that way.
Yeah, sure.
Inside Disc Golf.
But you mentioned the like you're thinking about the financial aspect of the sport also, that you want to be attracting also older people with money. But like how is that whole situation for you with prize money and sponsorship, and like is that something that you need to think of when you sign up for a certain event, that will I be able to cash here, or is that something that is taken care of in other ways?
Yeah. Well, I'm still such a new player, and my social media presence isn't that huge. So the sponsorships do not pay everything for me. So if I go into a tournament, it's not like I have to pay nothing. You know, I get some good support. I get some support from my sponsors. I think it's definitely gonna improve next year, and I'm gonna work on that. You know, improving my sponsorships, or maybe even get some new ones. But my main rule for choosing a tournament to play is that if I'm dependable, or if I'm dependent on what I cash from the tournament, then I should not play it.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, some tournaments have better payouts than others. For example, let's say the Heatland Open. That was my biggest win of this year. You know, that tournament had a great payout, and that was definitely a big part of why me and a few of my friends went there. But if I'm dependent on a payout, then I really have to tell myself to not go to that tournament.
Just too much pressure, or just that it just kind of like too much risk, I guess.
Yeah, I get too much risk is a good way to put it. I think it's just financially really dumb to go to spend your money on something that you like can't afford. Like if I can't afford to go to a tournament, then it's just dumb to go there.
Yeah, you cashed $4,000 there, so that was that was an amazing payout. And congratulations on that huge win.
Thank you.
I mean, that's really great. But yeah, I can understand what you're saying. You're still kind of in the beginning part of your career where it's not super easy to take care of all the financial things, right? And I'm sure that's going to change in the future. You're definitely a rising star, and you're going to get a lot more support and a lot more attention. And that's one of the main goals of Disc Golf Stream and the European Pro Tour. Like we had said earlier, that is like one of the specific main goals is to help the players be able to practice disc golf as a profession, to give them the platform and the opportunity to tour within Europe and to be able to do what they love to do and make it a real professional living. So
at home.
Yeah.
You don't need to travel overseas to do that.
Yeah. I think that's the ideal situation would be that we have such a great tour in Europe that not all players that want to take disc golf professionally have to go over to America. I think we need a great European tour, which is actually exactly what European Pro Tour is doing. And I'm definitely very interested to see what happens with Euro Tour and European Pro Tour in the future, if we're going to have the two tours separated or if we're going to have one big tour. But I think no matter what happens, I think the tour or the two tours are going to get much better for the players in the future.
Yeah, and I think the media is a big part of that. We've had the privilege and the honor to get to commentate on all the live coverage, which is a new thing for the continent to have that type of live coverage. Of course, there's been some post-production building slowly throughout the years, but that's the main point of the media is to build the whole level of professionalism and the interest, and make it possible for that to take place, so that all the players can make a living doing what they love to do, and get to play all these big events. And so yeah, I guess that's part of our job, and
Yeah.
not just with the live coverage, but also with this podcast. That's what we're hoping to do, to draw attention to everything that you guys are doing as players, and try to connect you to a wider audience, and just help everything grow and build for the better good.
Yeah, and I love what you guys are doing. Just for example, this podcast on itself, for me it's a great opportunity, and I hope I can also provide something for the podcast as being a guest here, which, well, obviously seems like I can.
You definitely
as I'm a guest here.
You are.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we invited you in the first.
Yeah, we're so grateful that you're
maybe.
here. Yeah.
I think you would not invite a guest if you felt like they would not be fitting for the podcast. That would be a very dumb business decision. Again,
You're a smart man.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're definitely where you belong, right here, and we're really,
Yeah.
really happy to have this conversation. Yeah, and
Inside Disc Golf.
what does your plan for next season look like in regards to the European Pro Tour? Are you thinking you're going to be able to make it to most of the events, or how's it shaping up?
It depends a lot on school, obviously, because I'm on my second year. It's second year of high school, and I would say that's the most important year as far as studying, because on the third year we only have the national exams pretty much and not studying. So pretty much any tournament that goes that distracts me from attending school, I'm probably most likely not gonna go to.
Of course.
But if they happen to have some great tournaments during our summer vacation, which obviously probably will happen.
Sounds quite likely that there will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. I'm probably gonna attend most of those.
That's great. Yeah, something to look forward to. Will we?
And
Exactly.
how was your experience at the European Pro Tour events that you attended this year? What first of all, like, how did you feel? How did you play, and how did it feel? Everything else around it, like the arrangement and other players, and
I have to say that the European Pro Tours, all of the ones that I played were definitely some of the most professional events that I have played in Europe. I felt like they really brought the standard up for the European events. Compared to some other events I played in Europe, I think the European Pro Tour, they were the best tournaments. Well, obviously we had some like huge tournaments like European Open, which is obviously it's just another level. But I think the European Pro Tour was definitely the professionalism we need in tournaments in Europe. And I think, well, for my play, I didn't play great in really any of the events.
You did pretty well in Jarva anyway.
Yeah, I think I was 18th in Jarva.
16th, yeah.
16th, yeah.
it was
All
quite a difficult field to
Yeah, but
to compete against. Right?
pretty good cash.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was a lot of good players there. And
Yeah.
it was a really exciting broadcast for sure.
Yeah.
What was it like to be in Jarva and be part of that kind of a big professional event at such a legendary place?
That was great, because especially being at Jarva, the course it's a course that I have always wanted to play, and finally I got the chance to play the course.
So it was the first time ever you were there playing.
Actually, earlier in the year when we were traveling to Heathland Open with my friends, we did play a single round in Jarva.
Okay.
But it's much different in the tournament setting. Obviously, in the European Pro Tour event, it was in top tier condition. Everything was just perfect. The grass was green, cut well, and the OB lines and the banners and the flags and everything was just so it was so exciting at the course. And I felt like that was definitely the best European Pro Tour event that I played. At least I felt the best there.
Yeah, that was special. That was a really, really, really awesome experience, and we'll definitely be back there next year. So
Yeah.
it's only going to get bigger and better on that level for sure.
Sounds awesome.
And
Sweden delivers.
Yeah. So you,
Yeah, Sweden definitely had some of my best tournaments.
Yeah, it
this year.
seems like you have been playing good on the.
Yeah,
but I feel like you did really well at Tuni and in the Turku Open as well. I mean, maybe not as high as you'd want to finish as well, of course, but the competition is pretty fierce, and then in that kind of a environment, I think you can be pretty proud of your results this season on the European Pro Tour.
yeah, that's debatable.
You have
17 years old. I mean,
yeah.
it's amazing that you're able to compete at that level. I think, but of course, it's good that you're not satisfied, because that means that you can do better, and that means that you're striving to improve all the time. And so, of course, I'm not asking you to be satisfied, but I'm just saying from an outsider's point of view, I think you did really well.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, I'm not happy with my finishes on the European Pro Tour. Even the Järva one, even though it was decent at 16th, I felt like not a single one of the events I played well. Because my goal, obviously, on the course, I would like to win some tournaments, which I actually was able to do this year, which was kind of weird.
Oh, I don't think that's weird. I think that's very, very impressive. And I think that shows what you're capable of. And I think, I think it says a lot to say that you played really bad, but you're still finishing like in the top like 20% basically of all those events. There was like 100 players in each of those things, so you never finished outside of the top 20.
Just like you're saying, the fields are so stacked nowadays. There are so many good players. So I think it's all about consistency. Look at Mikael Häme, for example, who won European Pro Tour.
Yeah, that's true.
He didn't win a single event, but he was always up there to compete with the best. And it's all about consistency, I think.
That's true. I think, Mikael Häme, that's a great example of a consistent player that maybe doesn't have the highest of highlights, but he's just a really good player overall. And I think that's something I would like to reach for myself as a player, to become really consistent. But I think it's also important to have the highlights. For example, the 2 wins that I had, even though my whole season was not the greatest, I wasn't in the top 10 for more than like 3 to 5 times during the season. I think what really made the season was the 2 wins that I had, because I would much rather have 2 wins and all other tournaments not go that well, compared to having 0 wins and having just pretty good performance in all tournaments.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That goes a really long way, and it shows a lot that you already know how to win. I mean, you've already proved yourself able to win in these kind of mid to upper level events in Europe. It really says a lot about what you're capable of, but also just what class you're in already. Like you say, if you play your best, then there's no stopping you, right? I mean, you can come out and win. Here you can win basically anywhere if you play your game, and you're always going to be keeping improving. You're still so young, so definitely a lot of potential and a very high ceiling, and and that experience of learning how to win, I think that goes a long way, right?
Definitely, yes. I feel like the winning part is, well, when I started playing, that was one of the most difficult parts, because I didn't really know. I wasn't like such a competitor in disc golf from the beginning, so I really had to learn how to win. And I had a good amount of wins in the smaller tournaments in Finland, but this year I had my biggest wins so far, like by far. The 2 Euro Tour wins, they were huge compared to any other wins I had.
That's right. Yeah, you had won quite a lot of C tiers, and leading up to those. And I guess your first B tier win was in Helsinki here at the MBDG.
Yeah,
there in 2020. But two big A tier wins, the most recent ones, and quite a lot of wins really for a young career. I mean, that's very impressive.
That's mostly because I played just a huge amount of tournaments in my first couple of years of competing, because I think I played like more than 30 events, both in my first and in my second year.
Yeah, so your first win was in Veikkola Spring Amateurs in 2018. And I can see that you've won quite a lot of MBDG amateur events, and that's something I want to highlight for the viewers, that what Natural Born Disc Golfer is doing to help grow the sport for the younger and give the juniors a chance to learn how to compete. They're putting on so many amazing events. That's a big part of their business is to and they've I guess raised a lot of money to help all that grow. And I think 20,000 something like this was what I had heard.
Yeah,
that they had been putting into these events to help help bring along the young players and give them that experience, what it's like to compete, and help them nurture those players and help them grow towards the professional level. And I think you're a prime example of that. So
yeah, and NBDG, they used to have the rule for tournaments, like if you were under 18, you could play the junior division for free.
I think it's still like that.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. All right, that's wonderful, because I absolutely abused that rule back in the day. I think I had like
no shame in that.
I might have had like 10 free tournaments in the junior division in both my first and my second year. So I'm really thankful to NBDG for that, because I got a lot of great tournament experience there, and I also learned how to win in those junior events.
Exactly, and that's what the program is meant to. You're a prime example of how they're helping to build these young players into really great professionals, even at a young age. Like I think that's clearly helped you learn how to compete and to win, like you said. So really big shout out to MBDG for everything that they're doing to help grow the sport for the young players here in Finland, and I think that's going to just continue to grow throughout Europe, hopefully, if everything goes to plan.
And speaking of learning how to win, you mentioned in the car on the way here that you have already at such a young age started to work with a mental coach.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what you hope that it will bring.
Yeah, well, actually, I have to edit the question for a bit before talking about the mental coach. I think it's necessary to talk about my physical coach.
Okay.
Jonas Merelä, also known as JK Sport Therapy. We have been working with Jonas for a year now. He has been my physical coach for this season, and we will definitely continue working in the future. And I love the physical training we have done. It's really enhanced my performance.
Also, probably not so common to have a physical coach at your age.
It's
70.
Really uncommon. I don't think very many players even have like a physical coach. Even I know a lot of the top players in Finland are missing a physical coach, which that's definitely something we need to improve in our sport, because if we want to be taken seriously as a sport, we need to treat ourselves like professional athletes, and that does not happen unless you have a physical coach. Because like in what other sport do you have like almost world class athletes that only train by themselves and don't have a coach?
A good point.
That's not something you see that often. You're completely right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And about mental coach, that's just adding on to the list of help that I get from outside, which I'm really thankful for. And also I have to thank Jonas once again for the opportunity, because Jonas kind of he suggested that he could make a deal with a mental coach, and the deal would include me getting some lessons from the mental coach, and maybe we would work for like a longer time, starting from this off season with the mental coach. And I think that's just a huge opportunity as an athlete, because I'm not even sure if anybody has a mental coach in disc golf.
Not that I've heard of, but
there must be some players with some mental coaching, but I don't think anybody that I have heard of has like a designated mental coach.
But that's really smart to have, because it's definitely a very mentally demanding sport, isn't it? I mean, there's the physical aspect, which is really obvious. You need the skills, but you also need to learn how to manage the pressure and the experience and everything of the competition, right? So I think it's very important to have that support, right? And to learn from people who know.
Yeah, and I think disc golf, especially disc golf as a sport, it's so demanding, well, especially mentally, as you mentioned, because you have to wait such a long time between your like shots. It's not like you get in this state of flow and you can just stay in there for the entire round. I don't think maybe that would be the ideal situation. But to me, it feels so difficult to keep your focus. You know, I throw my shot, then I wait for 3 minutes and throw the next shot. Like, how do I keep my mind in check for the 3 minutes? I think that's the question that I really need to ask the mental coach.
Yeah, that's the thing. There can be backups as well. It could be even 20 minutes. Maybe you have to wait for your next throw. Sometimes maybe how do you handle those situations? How do you stay warm and how do you stay focused? I think those are things that maybe can be definitely helpful from a coach.
Exactly. And I feel like the coaching department of disc golf is definitely kind of lacking, but in all areas. But I feel like that makes a lot of sense because coaching takes money and most players don't really have that much money to throw into things. I couldn't have a mental coach if I had to pay for it like as much as the mental coach usually takes from their from the players that they're coaching. But since I had this opportunity from my physical coach that I could also get the mental coach for like pretty much free, it's such a privilege to have at this point of my career.
Yeah, that's really excellent to hear that you have that kind of support and that opportunity to learn that way. And it's kind of a good point that I think, as we grow and more, we get more outside sponsors and more money coming in, that probably is something that we'll see a lot more of in the future. People who are able to afford that kind of service, and then there'll be a whole other aspect of the industry that will begin to develop in that direction.
We have to remember that disc golf is still a very young sport, and especially at the professional level, it's we don't know where the sport will end up in a few years, and there aren't that many who could actually just step up to become a good disc golf coach. You have to have some experience yourself,
some training,
exactly,
perhaps, some education, most likely,
So I think we're going to see more and more of that, just like you said, and it's great to hear that you're already on that track at a young age and ahead of many of your competitors. It sounds like,
that's an advantage for sure. I feel like my coach actually gave me an example of how advanced the training can be in some sports, because he knew about the training of, I don't remember the name, but some NHL player in hockey. And my coach said that the amount that the player spent on just solely food and, preparing food and having chef, like a personal chef, that was $30,000 per month. So we have a long way to go in disc golf to reach that
we'll
level.
See if we've ever reached that, but let's hope for it at least. But food is also an important thing.
Nutrition, very big part of it. Yeah.
Is that something you think a lot about, how you eat, and maybe something you get help from your physical coach?
I actually get some help from Jonas as far as nutrition. I know a good bit about nutrition myself, so I pretty much know what to eat and when. The problem is, I'm not saying it's like a eating disorder type of issue. Maybe not that serious, but I definitely have some troubles with eating just enough food. And I think that's definitely one of the hardest parts about being an athlete and training a lot, is that you have to eat like all the time, if possible.
Yeah, you have to find an appetite even if you're not really hungry, right? Just in order to fuel your body in the way that it takes to put in the reps that you need to do as far as training and competition goes.
Exactly. And especially, I think we have like 45 minutes for lunchtime at school. And, sometimes the food I just have such a hard time swallowing the food that I take up the whole 45 minutes just for one plate. And that's, it's not ideal, but I think it's probably gonna fix in the future. But yeah, that's just, kind of the struggle that athletes have to go through when they're really trying to eat enough food.
And how do you think about that during a competition, during a tournament? How much do you eat during a round, for example? Do you eat a lot before, or do you eat more during the round? Or?
Yeah. So the ideal situation is that before the round, I wake up early and have many hours before the round. Many hours of time.
Yeah.
Where I can actually eat at least twice. I would prefer to eat a breakfast and then wait for like an hour or two and then eat an actual meal. And then maybe 2 hours after that, the round would start. So, yeah, I definitely have to eat a lot before the round, but just not like exactly before the round, but a good while before the round. And then during the round, it's kind of interesting because I hear a lot of different opinions on this, because especially from other disc golfers. Some disc golfers like to eat like something protein based during the round. Some people like to eat bread. Some people like to eat some snacks. But what I have heard from like actual professionals of nutrition is that during the performance, you would rather eat like fast energy, which would be sugar mostly, and not really anything much heavier than that. So during the round, I might have some chocolate. I might have some nuts with the honey on top.
And some bar thing like.
Sometimes yes.
Okay.
Maybe not ideal because a lot of the nutritional, for example, protein bars, they're not that useful during the round. Maybe just after the round rather than during the round. Yeah, and I feel like nutrition. It's another thing that's definitely. It's kind of looked over in disc golf.
Yeah, something quite important that maybe doesn't receive enough attention.
Yeah,
in the moment, but yeah,
exactly.
Something to think more about in the future when people are taking this to the next level as far as being a full profession, right?
Exactly.
Inside Disc Golf.
Okay, we are starting to maybe come to the final questions here in this week's episode. But there's one thing I'm really curious to hear from you, though. Still, we have seen you as one of those very promising young players on the scene now coming up. Do you have anyone else that you think we should have our eyes on, that you think might be rising up to a very high level eventually?
Eventually, these are very obvious people, and I think you probably also have at least heard and probably seen these players play. They are kind of the same age as me. I would have to say people that are 1 year older than me. I would have to bring up Rasmus Saakoriipi.
Oh yeah. He finished the season so strong. We saw him pushing Seppo to the end there in Turku. He beat Philo Brathwaite in Sierra Vuori.
Yeah, incredible player.
Yeah, he really peaked there at the end of the season and showed his potential. Yeah, definitely not surprised to hear you say that name.
Definitely, he has one of the best technical games, I think. He's so well rounded. He has the forehand, he has the backhand, he has great putting, and that's definitely one. Then I think another one, maybe that isn't as well known. You probably still have heard of him. Is Onni Ruusunen.
Yeah,
heard the name, but I don't think
we haven't seen him yet on coverage, but we have definitely seen him popping off some hot rounds here and there on UDisc at these disc golf stream events for sure. He
just finished second in junior nationals.
Wow.
And also the guy that obviously won the Finnish nationals in juniors, who is Teemu Talikainen.
Oh yeah, who had a big show in Tampere a few weeks ago.
And in Kuopio as well, he shot the hot round opening day as well. So he really showed what he's worth there in the Prodigy Pro Tour at the end of the season. So
he's an incredible player. I think those three players, if you just follow their journey for the next 3 years, I think they're gonna have some big shows on the big stage, especially in Europe. So look out for those three.
Cool. And how about, do you have any FPO players that you think might be exciting to follow?
Yeah, well, I think the best one that comes to mind would be Olivia Chinstead. You know, she's kind of like Rasmus. You know, she has such a good like technical game. You know, she has a lot of different shots, and she has I would say she has the potential to become one of the best in Finland. Obviously, well, another one I would have to bring up is Silva Saarinen.
The highlight machine.
We're
We've seen
very
a lot
familiar
of
with
him.
her.
Yeah. You know, she's already like at the top. Obviously, she has won some events as well. But you know, actually, a funny thing about Silva Saarinen in Kuopio Pro Tour, which I think she won, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won the event. The evening before the final round, I went to the course, you know, to get some putting in. And who did I find at the course? Putting. Even though she's a really good putter, Silva Saarinen. So
She's putting in the work.
yeah, she's putting in a lot of work.
I'm getting kind of similar vibe from her as I also get from you. Like what I see from her on her Instagram account, for example, you see her working out all the time. She seems to be so professional in the way she prepares herself, or like it seems like she has a good long-term plan also with her game, and her rating has just skyrocketed this year, and I don't see where it might end.
Yeah. I think it all started in the European Championships. You know, she won the junior
That's right.
European Championships, and since then she has just improved even more. So it's great to see. I wish everything good for these players I just mentioned, because obviously, especially on the MPO side, they're my competitors. But I also, well, as from everybody around me, I wish to learn from them, because I think those players that I mentioned, they have some things in common with me. You know, maybe some of the work ethic, some of the views that they have on the sport, but also they have such a different approach to a lot of things also. So I think I could really learn, even though they're the same age as me, which obviously, as I told earlier, if somebody's older, they may have a lot more life experience, and therefore it could be easier to learn from them. But the guys that I mentioned, they seem to be so motivated. They have such a great game. I think I could learn a lot from them. So yeah, that's my goal.
I think we can learn a lot from you young people as well. I mean, I think the future is so bright. I really love the attitude and the energy that I'm feeling and seeing from a lot of these young people, not just disc golfers, but young people in general. And the future really depends on you. You know, like you are the future, and so I'm so inspired that people are really dreaming so big and working so hard and being so pure-hearted and doing everything that they can to make the world a better place. And you're a prime example of that. And your generation, I think, is just off to an amazing direction and incredible start to their lives. And the future really does look bright for the world and for disc golf. Yeah.
I have to say that maybe it could be a bit of an over-exaggeration to say that our generation is great. Obviously, you know, as in every generation, you know, there are better people and maybe not as great people.
Of course.
And, you know, I would say our generation, it's different from yours, but it's maybe better, maybe not, you know?
Yeah,
Probably
and
not.
maybe it's an overgeneralization to talk about the whole generation, but I'm just saying, as like from what I'm seeing from a lot of individuals, is a lot of hope and a lot of desire and a lot of love and a lot of compassion and a lot of understanding. You know, for just it's very impressive to see, and I'm very proud of all of you young people that are doing everything that you can to make the world a better place.
Yeah, the level of professionalism you and your other fellow generation players have at such a young age, that's definitely something that is new and that we haven't seen a few years back.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that we might see some big things coming from
I think
your generation.
That very much could be true. I think one of the biggest differences is definitely that our generation, you know, because we have dealt with social media our entire life.
Yeah.
So it might not even be that we are more professional. It's definitely, that's a big part of it. But another big part is that we know how to act professional on media. because we know how the social media works. You know, you just cannot ruin your reputation in one moment. Like there has been some examples in disc golf.
Oh yeah. Let's maybe not bring them up, but
yeah. But you know, you just have to take care of your reputation.
That's some serious words of wisdom, and it's such a fact. You know, it's so true. I can't imagine what it must be like to grow up with so many eyes on you and from so many directions. But it really requires a certain amount of care with everything that you're doing, and maybe that's one of the major differences. But very impressive the way you're able to handle all that. You know, to be under the spotlight and to be so mature and to behave so professionally on that stage. It's a really cool thing to see.
Oh, thank you. That's a big compliment.
So it's maybe time to wrap up for today's episode.
Yeah, just one quick follow-up question from what we talked about long before. What was your home course? Because you said you met Simon Lazat there. I'm not sure if we actually got to hear the home course.
That's true. Yeah, I want to hear it also.
Home course. It's Puolarmaari.
Puolarmaari, yeah.
You know that one.
Of course, yeah.
I
really
think
like
that might actually be the most played course in the world, according to you. This
actually great call, because our club was so proud of that. It was like awarded the most played course, I think, last year. I think also Taali Frisbee Golf was like 6th or something.
Yeah, another big course in the Helsinki area.
Yeah, but that was great, you know, and that's, as far as what I have seen, that's very much true. There's like always people at the course. You know, if you go there, you know, if I would go there after school at like 4 p.m., the course would be just stacked full of players. So yeah, it's great to see, especially juniors. As you guys said, you know, it's the next generation.
Yeah, the future.
Yeah.
The future is you and the future is bright. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us. It's been a real pleasure and an honor to have you here. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you to the viewers for following along on this episode of Inside Disc Golf.
Yeah, and thank you guys for giving me the chance to be a part of your podcast. You know, it's been awesome. This is actually my first podcast that I have ever done. So thank you for the opportunity. You know, I also have to thank my sponsors. Thank you to Discmania. Thank you to Fribastor. And I have to say thank you to my coach, Jonas, because he's definitely, I think, my biggest support for right now. But yeah, it was fun being here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome at any time again. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
Maybe we can have another episode maybe next year or something.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to have you. Open invitation. Come on by anytime and we'll be happy to have another conversation with you anytime.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it.
Victor, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I feel like you have made our job easy today by
that's nice to hear.
So many wisdoms and great things coming from that mouth of yours. Thank you. Big thanks. Also big thanks to you, Andy, for doing this together with me.
Thank you as well, Victor. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, all viewers, and thank you for all the feedback. We still wish for even more of that. Please send us all feedback, wishes, ideas, whatever you can think of, to our email address inside@europeanprotour.com, and we read everything and we will answer to all your questions.
And it'll make you eligible to win one of these first run European Pro Tour whale sacks as well, so some extra incentive to be in contact with us. We really much appreciate all of your viewership and all the support from everybody that we receive. That's all for this episode of Inside Disc Golf. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Inside Disc Golf, the European Disc Golf podcast. Everything about European Disc Golf in one podcast.